Hey everybody, Chris here from Skeleton. This video is part of an ongoing series where we document progress for Skeleton X, also known as Skeleton V3. Today's video, we're going to cover new updates to the theme generator, the new import feature that will come as part of that, and of course show off some new and updated themes for V3. So let's get started. First thing you may be wondering is how you actually access the theme generator. If you haven't yet, you can come to next.skeleton.dev to see the preview of our upcoming documentation. There's a little themes button here at the top. If you click that right now, that's going to be, I'm recording this before all this goes live, so this is going to show the old generator. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is just switch over to a local instance that just has all of the updates, so that I can show you everything that's coming. First thing you're going to notice is kind of a dramatic change in the interface itself. Things should seem a little bit more straightforward. You're not kind of getting bombarded with so many options all at the same time. And over on the left, this is kind of the cool part, is you see all of these previews for things like components and some of the button styles. You see your colors, you see your typography settings, things like that. So some really kind of cool stuff. Just visually thrown at you just to see, so you can preview it right at a glance. On the right here, kind of think of this as like a split panel design. On the right side, this panel is your controls, which is everything that's your editing for the theme itself. So if you're editing your color settings or your background settings or spacing styles, etc., that's all handled here on the side. It uses this new like accordion system to just kind of like quickly like expand and just let you focus on whatever you're trying to edit at that given time. You can also go ahead and add a theme name if you know what that's going to be up front. Or you can tap the little code button here and see the generated code for whatever theme you're creating. This updates in real time as you're adjusting the settings here on the side, so I might jump to that back and forth as we go. Likewise, you're going to see kind of a toggle here to be able to quickly switch to light and dark mode, so if you want to test the theme in either mode, it's there at a glance. You also see a couple new options here at the top, which you may not have seen in a previous iteration of this. So the create page is what we're on now. There's also an import page here that allows you to do two things. So one, you can kind of drag and drop your kind of V2 or V3 legacy themes into this little space up here, and it'll import, parse and import those settings and let you edit those directly, which we'll showcase in just a minute. It's really cool. And then you'll see a collection of like pre-built templates or pre-built themes down here at the bottom, any of which you can click on, and that'll import those settings directly into the importer. So again, we'll circle back to that in just a moment. So first things first, let's just kind of talk about what's new in the interface itself. So I'd like to start with just kind of showing you, like the colors themselves. So that's probably the best place to start with here. So if we tap this, we can open this, and you're going to see a few new options kind of thrown at you. The first is, ability to clear palette, which we'll talk about just again 1 second. The main thing is really just these little swatches here, which represent each of the color values, which you can see the name here. So your primary color, your secondary color, tertiary, etc. These are all should be familiar if you used Skeleton in the past. If you've used the previous generators, you may have also seen these kind of like seed functions where you can kind of like click this and you can type in like a hex color or copy paste one. Let me just type one real quick, and then we're going to do that. And you're going to see that's just going to essentially seed the palette. It's going to provide, take that color and try to generate a full palette against that. If we want to see, we're kind of seeing a limited view with just 3 shades right now. If we want to see the full palette, we can toggle all and see the full palette that was generated for us right there, which is really cool. If at any point you want to reset, you're like, oh, I've screwed something up, or I want to go back, you can just refresh the page. It's probably the simplest option. It'll refresh. It'll just set everything back to default settings. We might provide a more kind of like canned option for that in the future, but just for simplicity's sake, that's probably the best way to do it right now. Likewise, you can also hit this randomize option. What that's going to do is prompt you and say, are you sure you want to randomize this? Just want to give you a little safety there. If you hit yes, that'll continue to do that. And we can just continue to hit randomize, accept, and that'll keep changing those colors. And we just immediately see those previews here on the side, which is really cool. And you can do that for every single color. So you can seed each color or you can randomize each color. So I really like to kind of go to the surface tone, which is what sets a lot of these kind of neutral tones and backgrounds, and just kind of run through here and bounce through this a few times because you can really see like a dramatic effect, you know, when you start going through that, which is really cool. I'm going to refresh here just once more, just kind of reset everything. The other cool thing you're going to notice is as you adjust the colors, the preview actually adjusts. So right now we're previewing the primary tone, which is this blue. If we jump over to the secondary, which is the purple, then we see all the buttons, the inputs, everything kind of update to utilize that, you know, currently selected color. And so what that does is lets us know, okay, I want to see all the variations of my primary color, or I want to see all the variations of my secondary or my warning color or something like that. Then that's a quick way to be able to do that. Rather than having to like wait until you get it in your application and hope, you know, that translates the way you want it to. You can just immediately kind of get that feedback depending on which color you have selected. The other cool thing is you'll see that by default, we're limiting to just the 3 shades. So if I come down here to the little color palette, you're going to see kind of this is the primary tones generated here. If I come in here and start adjusting these, say like make this like a little bit of a green tone, you're going to notice it just changes the middle tones, and then the blending between the colors is automatic. So if I make this here and make this kind of red, it's blending between that green and red automatically. The reason we're doing this as the default is it's just really easy to do. In most cases, you just want to set your highlights, your low light colors, your low tones, and then your mid tones, and that will generate your palette for you. In most cases, you're drawing from some sort of a source, and you're almost always going to have those 3 tones available as opposed to the full kind of 11 shades, which is a lot of colors to have to manage manually. So just a really cool way to do that. Likewise, if you want, you could take, you know, any kind of color. You could randomize, you know, to pick if you don't know what you want, or you could seed that color in and see that full palette generated against that. And again, we're kind of trying our best to automatically generate that with nice contrast and things like that. So you'll see, you know, nice light and dark tones here, but it may not be perfect. So that's where you may still want to come in here and sort of tweak and adjust a little bit, maybe brighten it or darken it just a little bit, something like that. Just makes that a little easier to manage. And I apologize if the little pop-up is going off the screen there. I use a wide monitor, so nothing I can do about that. I'm sorry. But it's good for just fine-tuning, even if you use the seed option or the randomize option. I use this a lot when I'm adjusting, you know, just to fine-tune details, like see if I want to adjust these kind of colors here. Like I can kind of just see, like, oh, is that green? You know, exactly what I want, and kind of tweak and adjust until I'm happy with that. Now, if you are kind of one of those type of folks that likes to have full control over everything, you can switch to the full palette and adjust each color individually. When you do that, it does not blend between the colors, but that's intentional. We kind of expect that if you are wanting to edit all colors, that you want full control over all colors, and there will be no blending for you. You just manually provide each color. So if I come in here and change this one to a random red value, it's just going to change on its own. So just be aware of that, of the mode that you're in. Kind of depends on whether or not you'll get blending or not. We do kind of specify it here, but just in case, just kind of know that. The cool thing is when you're starting out, you may just want to have kind of like a neutral palette, so you're not getting influenced. Like as if I'm trying to change this color and then I'm seeing this purple and pink and stuff, it might kind of influence the colors you're picking or choosing. And so we've provided this option here at the top to just sort of clear all of that out. And so it just sets like a gray tone for all colors in the palette. And it just kind of looks like a nice kind of like black and white, simple, you know, place to start. And then you can come in here and start randomizing this tone. You can come in here and start randomizing your surface tone, maybe jumping back and forth to see the combination. It just kind of gives you that neutral place to start from, which is really cool. Now, if you're the type of person that's kind of like me, that, you know, likes to have something to start from, like I have sort of a foundation to build off of, you don't have to do this where you know, pick every value from scratch, from the ground up. And so I'm going to quickly kind of jump over and show you a couple things that you can do to kind of quickly get started. So we're going to use the import feature. Again, I kind of mentioned that we have the option to, you know, import existing themes. So I'm going to just take an old, V2 theme that we had called Sahara. Drop that in, and you're going to see that just kind of automatically pulls in all those colors. If I come and look through the palette, you can see, yep, there's my full palette, and all of the tones inside of that have all been brought in. Have all been kind of, the color contrast is being generated for each tone automatically, which you can kind of see controlled down here. It just works, as automatically as we can. Now, quick caveat, if you are importing a V2 theme specifically, we're only going to import color values and edge values. The reason for that is the format and structure for how you set background color, spacing, typography. Those things are new or are kind of modified in such a way that we can't just copy those settings from V2. So in that case, it will just inherit some defaults, and then you can kind of build up from there. But colors are the big one. I know that's the hardest thing to import. There's 11 shades per color. There's 7 colors. There's 77 colors that you would have to manually import, that you just kind of get that like automatic import for, which is really nice. Likewise, if you just want to use this as a starting place, you can. You can still use like that seed or randomize option to start changing the colors. So again, you have a quick way to just kind of start with something and then start building off of that yourself. Or if you want, I'm going to refresh to reset everything. You can come here and choose from any of the kind of options that we've already built for you. So we have, you're going to notice some familiar names down here as far as like themes that have existed in the past. Modern, Rocket, Wintry, popular themes you've probably used already. You can just click on any of these and just automatically import those. It brings in all of the settings from those. And then we've expanded this with a number of brand new themes. So like Mint is brand new. So there we go. We have this like really kind of easy system for whether you're dragging and dropping your own files in to import those, or you're just choosing from any of the presets we provided, just be able to quickly bring those settings in and start adjusting from that. So click that, you get all of those settings. So just another way, like I said, if you're not wanting to start, completely from the ground up, these might be a great place to start. Start with a template and then start tweaking that template until you like the colors or the font styles or whatever. Likewise, if you like our themes, but you just want to adjust a couple settings, this is another way to be able to do that, which is really cool. So if you don't like the typography settings or something like that we've set for a theme, tweak and adjust it here, and then you can export that and use that in your project yourself. Real quick, I'm going to just jump through a couple of the other settings here just so you can kind of see those. So we have control over the background and for light or dark mode. So as we toggle between these, you're going to see these used. By default, when you're starting a new theme, you might see it use the surface color, which would look maybe a little washed out or something like that. It was always one of the things we heard with V2 themes is, oh, in light mode, the background's always kind of washed out because it's using your surface tone, right? So we now provide a way for you to just use white if you so choose, or another tone. You can use a secondary or whatever. But just be able to quickly kind of drop that in there and just see like a really bright white contrast background. Toggles that light or dark mode either way. Likewise, you can do black for your dark theme, or continue to use your surface themes. And what's really cool is if you use something like a lighter shade of your surface tone, we've kind of set up the generator where it automatically switches the utility classes that are used to populate like the card styles and things like that here. So you're going to see there's always contrast between what you provide here. So whether it's light on dark or dark on light, it's still going to be visible, which is just a fun little touch we put in there just to make it a little easier. You would obviously need to copy those kind of utility classes and use that sort of approach when you're implementing your design. But again, just some smart features we built into it for you. Spacing is a feature that has continued to exist from the prior version. This is just building on top of Tailwind's spacing system for all of these different kind of properties, padding, margin, etc. You're just adding a scaling factor to this, which you can kind of adjust up and down and just have like really big padding, really small padding, etc. Just kind of adjust that on the fly. And it's a very global thing that affects a lot of different utilities. Edges, we now have kind of a very visual display for what these are. And so instead of using like a select drop down, you just can now visually kind of preview what you're going to get. So if we look at border radius, this is going to be things for like your button styles, your badge styles, stuff like that. So if we want like very sharp corners or maybe somewhere in between, or we want full rounded, we can just quickly do that. Container is going to be for like your card styles and kind of any tall or kind of extended elements. So if you want to have, something like this or more sharp corners, or again, somewhere in between, you can kind of tweak and adjust those on the fly. We do kind of limit that to what we kind of feel are logical options for that. But just know this or any other settings that the theme provides, you can still manually customize outside of the generator. So if you want to go like really, really rounded on your containers, you could definitely do that. Just copy your code, edit the code directly. If you're not sure like what things map to, you'll notice that the themes kind of match up. So if we search for container, there we go, radius or radii container. So most of them should be very logical, very easy to find. I apologize. Likewise, we have things like edge styles. So this is going to be like your border width. So if you want big, thick borders for your things, I'm going to refresh so you can have a theme that maybe will pick up a little bit better in the video capture here. So if we go with like a really thick border here, you're going to see that kind of shown here. Or if you want thinner, if you want ring styles, which we use for things like forms, you can change those on the fly. Divider, we use it in a couple places, but it's maybe not visually shown yet on the previews. We're going to adjust that. We're going to make sure we have some of that. And then outlines, again, that's kind of a user-defined thing. We're just providing an option that you can then adhere to and use as you wish. So nothing you'll see visually displayed right here, but just know we still give you the option to set those settings. Typography is probably the most, has the most a number of options, just because that's typography in a nutshell. There's a lot you can tweak and adjust. So we do provide a dedicated typography section to preview down here. As you adjust the typography scale, you're going to see some of these things change, which is really cool just to kind of see that happen on the fly. If you're not sure what a typographic scale is, we are linking to a resource here that will kind of talk you through like, what is this? Why have we chose the options that we have chose as the presets and things like that. Also very useful for your designers so they can kind of copy that and follow that pattern as well. If you want to look through here, you can also see, you can adjust 3 categories of typography settings. So you can adjust just your base styles. So that's going to be things like your paragraph styles and things like that. Headings, which are going to be like your large featured headings here. And then anchors, which are like your links and stuff like that that's featured on the page. So likewise, you can kind of see the settings both in light and dark mode as you go. But the cool thing is, like, you can use this to really kind of adjust a lot of cool stuff. So if we go into headings and we see our headings here and we adjust the dark mode version to be like, I don't know, primary 300, we can start to see like, oh, okay, well now all of our headings have like a kind of canned, color option just built in, which is really cool. Now it doesn't work really great in this particular preview, but again, that's some stuff we can kind of tweak and adjust for our preview. You can adjust that in light mode. So instead of black, we could go with a color 2. Just lots of options there. But we do kind of leave inherent, and we do leave white as options if you want to kind of like really kind of set those as well. Everything else is pretty straightforward. What fonts are you using? So if we want to adjust our headings and maybe change that to a couple different settings here, we're going to see those headings specifically change. If we go to our base and start changing those, you're going to see your base styles start to adjust. I'm just going to leave system just for readability for right now. But again, a number of options provided here. These, we do provide, again, some canned amount of options. But if you would like to adjust that further, that's where you can kind of go into the theme and change it yourself. So just know that is a possibility. One caveat or one thing to note is if you do make any of those manual adjustments in your theme to settings that we do not provide in the generator will just kind of leave that blank here. It will not overwrite that, but it will not give you the ability to visualize that setting here, if that makes sense. Like I said, it will persist the option in your code here. And so if you export it again, it'll continue to have that customization that you had. But it does not know, that setting exists, so it cannot display it in the form element. That's fine. If you do change things though here, it will overwrite it in the code. So just kind of know that that's how that works, okay? The last step, of course, is once you have a theme you really like. So I'm going to just import one for example's sake here. Imagine we had created this theme on the fly and we were really happy with it. It's looking the way we want it to in both light and dark mode. We can then hit the code button here, and then we just kind of link off right now to the documentation, kind of covering how you import custom themes. So if you have not read this on our documentation site, I definitely recommend you come through and read this, but we link to it just so you have that as a resource. Of course, you can copy the code for that's presented here, and then just import it and use that inside of your project as the documentation explains. I think with that covers pretty much everything I had. Just note, we are providing like a written document that kind of goes, a written post that goes alongside this video that also showcases some things that we're looking to build towards in the future with the generator. Think of it as going beyond just being a generator and being more of a theme service. So this is, of course, its own standalone web application right now, but think of it, imagine a scenario where you would maybe log into the site. You'd be able to like create and manage several different themes using this kind of generator interface. Maybe you'd be able to share those with other people or share those publicly. So there's like a list of themes that have been created by the community, and just little cool little details like that. The post will cover it in more detail and link to some resources. So if you're interested, definitely check that out. It'll be provided in the section below the video, the details. Other than that, I think that covers everything for today. So hope you enjoy the new generator. Obviously, if you create anything really cool, feel free to come on our Discord. We have a Skeleton Next channel where you can come in and like share anything that you're doing with V3 and or testing, the new updates. Show us what you got. Let's see what you have. If you have a really cool theme, feel free to drag it into Discord and share it with everybody. Everybody can, obviously import and use it. So always a fun thing to do. But again, I'll stop it there. Thanks for continue to provide feedback on everything. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to, just reach out below the video or in the post. We're happy to help. Thanks, everybody.